Hello everybody and welcome back to the Quantum Realm. This episode will be our first Camponotus Decipiens update, and we will be picking up where we left off from on the introductory episode. On the introductory episode, we seen the brood pile double in size in just a few weeks with new workers soon to eclose. Under normal circumstances, I wouldn't have hibernated this colony throughout winter because they were a new founding colony. I normally skip the first year, but I hadn't found a reptile feeder store, and they hate the feeders from Petco. They don't even touch them. So due to low protein, they went into a diapause on their own, but once I brought them out of diapause, I began a feeding schedule of protein and sugar every 3 days to really boost this colony's numbers, as they are my favorites, and if I'm being honest, they get most of my attention. I had found a local reptile store that sells all reptile feeders, and I got them fruit flies and dubia roaches. Here you can see them dining on a chopped up dubia roach, filling their gasters to feed the queen and the larvae. I always see a worker or two tugging at the cotton like this worker here, which leads me to believe they want an outworld. I want to wait until maybe 15 to 20 workers before I get them a formicarium, which shouldn't be that long. I'm thinking maybe the end of April they will have enough numbers for it. When the time comes, I'm thinking maybe a fallen fortress from Mac at Tar Heel Lance would suit them well. Here with this feeding just a few days before the new worker closed, I switched to only giving them fruit flies as protein because this is the feeder that they constantly go for. Sometimes when I give them a chopped dubia, they ignore it, and I consistently see them attacking and eating the fruit flies. This is also when I noticed the brood development increasing significantly after switching to fruit fly feedings. As you've seen in the first clip, I also experimented with the ant jelly, but they didn't like it much, so I stopped giving it to them. A few days later, the morning of February 23rd, they closed the first worker of the year, and as you can see, they finished the pile of fruit flies I had given them in the previous shot as well. Later on that same day, I gave them more fruit flies and new honey, and here you can see ant behavior that will take place in the wild. The older workers go collect the food and sugars while the newest workers take care of brood duties. There are 3 cocoons left, and over the next 3 days, all 3 of these girls would eclose as well, bringing our worker count up to 8. Over those next 3 days, we also had larvae spin new cocoons, new larvae that hatched from eggs, as well as a new batch of eggs. In this clip, I show my feeding process with this colony, which is the same for all of my test tube colonies basically. I let the fruit flies jump out of the cup, and once they're on the napkin, I give them a nice Super Mario ground pound to knock them out. It's not too much to where it squishes them, but enough to stop them from running. Then I rip a small piece of foil acting as a plate for the ants just so the test tube doesn't get so dirty quickly. Putting the honey on the foil first, and then the protein, in my case, is fruit flies. At first I was giving this colony 1 fly per worker, but as the brood pile grew and grew, I noticed they were eating much more than that. So I gave a little more in this clip. I think I gave them 10 fruit flies, but as we bring the colony in, you can see we have more cocoons. So simply, but as fast as you can to prevent escapes, pull the cotton out, remove the old plate, and insert the new one. As I mentioned earlier about the ant behavior, you can see the older 5 workers are at the front of the tube, while the younger 3 stayed back and tend to the brood and the queen. This colony isn't as messy as other colonies, but once they're all done with their food, they'll pile it all back into the plate with some cotton like this, which makes swapping their food out very easy and simple, as you don't have to clean any extra food that would be in the test tube. I love this colony for how calm they are. When exposing them to light, they don't freak out or anything as far as eating their brood. They are very relaxed, and I am excited for that large, darker cocoon. When the queen is next to it, it's about half of her length, so I'm thinking this might be a major, but we will see in the coming weeks. You'll also notice 2 of the newer workers got called up by an older worker to come feast on some of the flies. You can still see in their behavior that they are more shy and inexperienced, as they just pounce at the flies and sniff around, periodically cleaning their antennas. This here is their most recent feeding. You can see how large the brood pile is getting with these consistent feedings. There are so many cocoons, this colony size will double once they be closed. I've also switched from giving them raw honey to giving them honey water with some food coloring. I did this because I couldn't tell if they were drinking the honey, but now with the color I can see when they're drinking it from the color showing off in the gassers of the workers. I said they would get a formicarium by the end of April, but at the rate they're growing, they might get one by the end of March. With all that said, this brings us to the end of this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys tune in for the next one as well. Have a good day, and I'll see you next time.